The Wildcat Sports Club CNY Brewfest is coming up January 31st and February 1st at the New York State Fairgrounds. Taste your way through unlimited samples from more than 100 breweries. Now featuring hard ciders, seltzers, craft cocktails, and mocktails too. Grab your tickets now at cnybrewfest.com.
What's going on, everyone? Hope everyone had a good holiday yesterday. Now we're back in it. We usually go every Monday, but we're here on the Tuesday following the holiday. E, man, what's going on? How's everything going?
Everything's going good. Just over here cold. There's a cold front everywhere, so I can't. I know it's way colder up there with you are, so I can't really do too much complaining, I'm sure.
E, we talked about it this morning. The DC cold and the Syracuse cold, those are two different colds right there, man. We might be in the negatives over here, man.
Yeah, no, it's not that cold up here. It's cold, but not negatives. That's a whole different level of cold.
Yeah, we're used to it over here, though, so all good, man. But we got some positive stuff to talk about, E. It was a great win over the weekend versus Notre Dame. I guess give me your perspective on the game, what happened, first half, second half, and what went wrong in the first half, but what went right in the second half.
Well, there's a lot we could start with. I mean, one of the things JJ had a little bit of struggle starting off with. I'm pretty sure that Notre Dame really scouted and saw the things that worked for JJ when he was playing against Boston College versus, what didn't work when he played against Louisville. So they didn't just let him just go downhill from the top of the key and do all those things. They had somebody there, to help, and they just played differently. And I think that one of the key changes that was made was that adjustment to moving him off the ball. Now, it's a lot of times, Coach Red gets a lot of criticism for not making in-game adjustments. That's a lot of the criticism that he receives. But this was an in-game adjustment that I saw that was made, one of a few, that really had a huge impact on the game because he was trying to attack from a different angle. You know what I mean? He was off the ball. Now I don't know if this is gonna work all the time. So I'll say this because Notre Dame is a smaller team. So you can get away with playing a smaller lineup.
Right.
But Notre Dame, it was an adjustment that worked, and that's one thing that you could point to.
Look, first half, obviously slow start. Notre Dame got off to 11-0 lead. And it was the Marcus Burton show in the first half. Coming off the pick and rolls, so you're turning the corner, getting downhill into that ACC area, whether it was a floater, a pull-up jumper, or making a play for somebody else. He had 22 points in the first half, and he's one of the best point guards in the country when it's getting downhill, and he's super crafty with the ball. But, talking about the adjustments, so you're right. I thought Coach Red did a great job of adjusting from the first half to the second half. And Burton only had, I want to say, 4 points in the second half. But they adjusted that pick and roll. In the first half, they were having Eddie Lampkin really kind of just sit back and let Burton go down and attack it. Second half, the first pick and roll, Eddie hedged out high, and they made Burton play side to side instead of being able to turn the corner. And then when Burton was able to turn the corner in the second half, they had bodies there in front of him. When he got to that area, it was tougher to be able to finish at the rim. So all the talk about, Coach Red doesn't make adjustments. He didn't do this. He didn't do that. That was a big time adjustment. You talking about putting JJ off the ball, and then defensively, which I think is most importantly for this team because they've been struggling defensively the whole year. To have that type of defensive effort in the second half, and really, it really started late in the first half, and three guys who really come to mind: Jaquan Carlos, Kyle Cuff, and Chopper Moore. I mean, those three guys, I think the last 5 minutes of that first half, they really brought a lot of energy on both ends of the floor. And we really haven't seen Syracuse get out in transition. And, historically, Syracuse, we thrive in transition, right? Able to get turnovers and get out and get easy opportunities. This is really the first game for me, E, that I saw Syracuse create turnovers and then get out and play fast. We saw Eddie Lampkin with a couple, pass heads to Chopper Moore for the finish. The second one he wasn't able to finish. But when Syracuse is able to get out and get easy opportunities, it's just going to make it easier for them to be able to get out of those scoring droughts that we've seen them getting a lot to this season, rather than having to get out of those scoring droughts playing against a set defense in the half court. Tell me what you saw from them defensively, and then being able to get out in transition and get some easy looks.
Well, definitely. I mean, especially Kyle Cuff. I mean, I don't know if they win this game without him. The job that he really did on Burton. I mean, now Burton is a special player. He scored he had just as many points as our whole team had points in the first half. Like, he was really, really on. But in that second half, I think he was held to, what you say, 4 or 6 points or something like that. That was a huge difference. Yeah. And Kyle Cuff drew that assignment. I just can't say enough about Cuff, to be honest with you. Going back to earlier in the season, he wasn't playing consistent minutes, and he didn't know if his number was going to be called upon, or if he was going to, even play hardly at all. But he just always kept himself ready, and he stepped up to the plate every single time Coach called his name and called his number. And I don't think that people understand how difficult a position that is. How hard that is to do that. You don't know when you're going to play. You're going through everything. You're looking at the scouting report. You're looking at everything. And you just sit there and you're seeing different ways that you could be effective, but you're not called yet. And you just have to stay ready. That term, stay ready, I mean, he's really exemplified that. And I want a lot of younger players to really be able to see him and use him as an example of how you can stay ready and how you can kind of force a coach to play you. You know what I mean? I mean, there's a lot of different ways, that guys could always say, I should be playing more. Coach doesn't like me. You know what I mean? Something else, different kind of excuses. But it doesn't seem like, and you've been a little bit closer than I have. You've seen some of the practices, and you could talk about how he actually works in practice and what you've seen personally, up front and up close. But from what I've seen, it's all positive. It's all positive energy, because, now with the cameras, they can catch you if you have bad energy. They can catch you if you're sitting on the sideline pouting with your bottom lip out, don't want to clap for nobody, saying it, almost
right.
Like got a little doing bad. The cameras catch all of that. Even if you're not in the dome, if you're watching from TV, the cameras can catch all of that. But it seems like he's just doing the opposite. He's just actually staying ready. And when his number is called, he goes in here and does his assignment. I think that's really invaluable. But like I said, I don't think they win this game without him. And I said the same thing before. I got to think of which game it was. But he's really been an X factor.
And honestly, and like you said, I have seen it firsthand with Kyle Cuff, a guy who went from playing, sometimes 0 minutes, not even getting in the game, right, to, shifting the whole momentum for a Syracuse team. And it started with Boston College, in that second half versus Boston College, he came in just with his energy and his aggressiveness, and, he's not pouting. He's not worried about how many minutes he's playing. When he gets in and he gets the opportunity, he's ready to go. And from a coach's perspective, that's all you could ask from a player like that, right? A guy who, it's hard to come in and not have consistent minutes. So when you haven't been playing the whole game, and then you're asked to come in the second half and bring some value to the team and make an impact, that's hard. Your mindset have to be in a whole different place, right? So I shout out to Kyle Cuff, because I think he's a strong player, not only physically but mentally. Right, mentally, he's always locked in. He's always ready to go. If you don't have guys like that on your team, you're not going to be very successful. Shout out to Kyle Cuff, man, because he's always ready. He's always positive, right? He's always cheering on his teammates. And besides the great defense, because as a team, I think Syracuse had a great defensive effort in the second half as a team. But it started with Kyle Cuff putting the pressure on Marcus Burton. Yeah, Eddie Lampkin did a good job adjusting and hedging out and making them play side to side, but it started with Kyle Cuff being aggressive on the ball, right? Making it harder for him to even get into that pick and roll, being physical. And when he did get to his spots, because he's a great player, he's going to be able to get to his spots. But when he did get to his spots, now it's a totally different shot, because he's tired from all the, chasing around that Cuff was doing and being physical with him. So Kyle Cuff, he changed the game with his defense. But offensively, 10 of 10 from the free throw line. And Syracuse typically this year not known as a great free throw shooting team, but 10 of 10 from the line. Right? Yeah, exactly. 10 of 10 for the line. And a few of those free throws were clutch, like really needed those. So again, it goes back to his mental side and his mental part of his game where he's locked in and he's not worried about, how many minutes he's going to play. When I get into the game, I'm going to go ahead and give everything I got. And Kyle Cuff, he's been an example of that throughout the whole year.
You mentioned free throws, and I mean, free throws have been horrendous for us, and I don't understand why. Like if it wasn't for Cuff, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, you could tell me if you have them. But take Cuff out of the equation. What was our free throw numbers? You know what I mean? Against Notre Dame, like we can't be successful missing that many free throws. I mean, we have to be able to lock in and knock those down. Those are gimmies. Those are free. But he was 10 for 10. You take him out of the equation, what was our free throw percentage?
I'm going to tell you right now. So in that game, we were 21 to 34. You take away his 10 misses, or excuse me, his 10 makes, we're 11 for 34 from the line against Notre Dame. So
we can't do that. No, we can't do that. We got
so basically he saved us, just by hitting those 10 free throws. Every single one was important. Real quick, we're gonna take a commercial break and we're gonna come back. We're gonna talk about the rest of this second half and some guys I want to talk about, Jaquan Carlos and Chopper Moore. We'll be right back.
Okay, all good. Yeah, those free throws is bad. I didn't know they were that bad, but yeah, they were bad.
Yeah, I just looked at it. Yeah. 11 for 34 without his 10 makes.
Yeah, man, that's not it. You can't do that. Can't do that.
No, that was terrible.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. That's pretty bad.
So we could take callers. He probably last 15 minutes if you want.
Yeah, that's cool. I want to see about the different strat. I want to talk about JJ a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, let's talk about JJ a little bit because he's such a key part of this team. I don't want it to be where as he goes, we go, but
that's kind of what it is.
Yeah, I don't want to put that much pressure on one person, though. You know what I mean? I think that's a lot. Yeah, we can talk about it.
Yeah, it is a lot.
There's probably some creative ways to get him going because I don't think the 3-guard lineup is really the way that's gonna. We're not gonna be able to do that against bigger teams. That's all the way I can say it.
Yeah, and Clemson is huge.
Clemson is huge. So that's you know what I mean? We got to be able to see what can work,
Yeah, Clemson is good, man. They got, not only they're big, but their guys are talented too. They got the transfer from Cincinnati, I think Lock-in.
Mm-hmm. It's tough. What do you think? I'll let you take that one.
Right now you like what he brings off the bench, just the kind of the spark that he brings. Yeah, it could be a conversation, but I don't know. I think he's comfortable coming off the bench and adding that spark. I don't know. You want to. Chopper played well. He played better. It's a conversation for sure.
Yeah, I think it's a conversation. He's been that spark though. But I think I like to see when guys earn more minutes and they play themselves into minutes. It's just, I like that.
and it's just like look, the lineup's kind of been all over, but it is I guess a chemistry thing or whatever, guys knowing where they're going to be and.
Okay.
I like Cuff though, man. He's changed. If everyone played with that energy, and Carlos for real played well too.
He did. He definitely did.
Watch your favorite ESPN Syracuse sports talk shows on QSportsTalk.com. This is the Etan and Devo Show. Here are former Syracuse standouts Etan Thomas and Eric Devendorf.
Hey everybody, welcome back. So during the break, we talked about JJ a little bit in the adjustments that Red made with him playing off the ball. Give me your take on that. That was something that you thought was really critical in the win versus Notre Dame.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, JJ wasn't really getting it going here in the beginning, and taking him off the ball was, one of those key adjustments that I think was made that really affected the game. But my question is, are we going to be able to do that moving forward? Clemson, as you said, they're in a break. They're a different team. Their makeup is different. They're not like Notre Dame. Notre Dame has a smaller backcourt. You could get away with that with Notre Dame. So we have to come up with a strategy. Well, coach has to come up with a strategy of what's going to work moving forward against a bigger team. I know a lot of the criticism against Louisville was that the offense looked a little bit too stagnant. Too much standing around and passing and then trying to force it to JJ. But the thing about it is, I think Coach said something like this during the press conference. JJ is going to have to score. They're not going to win many games with him scoring 4 points or whatever, how much he scored against Louisville.
Yeah, 1 for 7, 4 points, against Louisville. Yeah.
They're not going to win many games with him. He is the guy. So they have to figure out ways to get him going. But what are they tried? You saw what worked against Notre Dame. They moved him off the ball. And that worked. What could be a strategy that could work moving forward against somebody like Clemson?
Well, I just know against Clemson, you're going to have Eddie Lampin's going to have to be a threat. You're going to have to put pressure on Clemson's front line. They got a huge team with the lock-in, the transfer from Cincinnati. Obviously, Shefflin, who's an all-ACC player. But you got to attack those guys on the defense side when they're playing defense. Same thing with Tay Davis, Notre Dame. He's a guy who offensively, he's really good. When you have a guy like that who's really good offensively, you have to attack him defensively and try to get some of his energy, on that end. So come offensively, he doesn't have as much energy. You don't want to let a team like that hide their best guy, right? You want to be able to try to attack them. So Eddie Lampkin, Jair Davis, and I think both are capable. You saw when Eddie gets the ball, he's a smart player, right? He has some great passes. He's patient. He lets guys kind of, cut through and he sees what's open. But for me, offensively, he has to be more aggressive. How can you take the load off of JJ? Because he does have to score the basketball. If he doesn't score the basketball, Syracuse isn't going to give themselves a good chance to win the game. But you got to find other guys around. And we talked about Cuff bringing energy and, Chopper Moore shooting the ball. And hopefully they can, get Chris Bell going a little bit more or a lot more, as far as shooting the basketball and just having energy. I thought Carlos did a great job of coming in and, bringing energy on both sides of the floor. Even, he was on the boards a little bit. He made some good penetrations into the middle and created for his teammates. But they have to have Eddie Lampkin be a threat. Just a guy to where you could suck the defense in and he could create from the post. And then same thing with Jair Davis. He does a good job facing in the mid post. He can hit that 15-foot jump shot. But also, I think if he just uses his strength, which is being a punisher and really getting into that paint area and then, going up, being strong at the rim. Those are two guys that I think have to be aggressive. If you don't have your perimeter guys, helping JJ out, they need to be able to go to Lampkin and Davis just to be able to create some type of other offensive threat.
So I think that Lampkin and Davis have both been doing a very good job. I think that, when they get the ball inside and the way that they've been creating and, like you said, passing out of double teams, Lampkin's a very good passer. Makes wise decisions, especially as double teams come and, when stuff is crowded. I think they've been doing a good job. My question is more about the backcourt. So, are you going to be able to move JJ, off the ball against bigger opponents? And that's the question mark that I have. Is he going to have to be effective at the point, or that aspect of it? Because I worry about that. Like I said, it worked against Notre Dame. I don't know if that same strategy is going to work against Clemson just because the makeup of the team is different. But that's what I mean. What do we know that he likes to attack from the top of the key. We saw what worked, you know what I mean, against Boston College. We saw that, but other teams saw that too. So they're going to scout and they're not going to let him do that. So how are we going to get him going when he starts off like he did against Notre Dame? How are we going to get JJ really kind of carry the team?
If JJ's off the ball, I mean, if Carlos isn't in the game and making good decisions, I'm putting Cuff right there at the ball. Honestly, I just like what Cuff brings as far as his aggressiveness and his passion out there, his energy and his effort. I'm not really sold on putting Chopper Moore at the one right now. I just think he's a guy who, he's around the perimeter. He can make shots. Defensively, though, he did better in this game versus Notre Dame. I thought he did a good job of bringing effort and energy. But for me, if Carlos, you want to give him a chance, but I like Cuff just at that position. I think he's capable of making decisions, but he's stronger at the one. He's more explosive getting to the rim. He's shown that he can knock down the open three-point shot. And he's a guy that, honestly, he's just been changing the game with his energy. So if you give Carlos a chance, and if not, I'm putting Kyle Cuff at the one, because you can't have all three guys there at the same time. Like you said, it can't be JJ, Cuff, and Carlos. It has to be one or the other. It has to be JJ has to be in there, but then it's either Cuff or Carlos. And how I'm looking at it right now, I'm taking Cuff. I just like what he brings to the table. And then defensively, he's strong enough to keep those guys in front. Carlos did a better job defensively, but I just think Cuff, he brings a different physical presence. Burton really got tired down from him just being on him the whole time. And then on the other end, I think he's capable of making decisions. So if you're putting JJ off the ball, I like Kyle Cuff at the one. I just think he's proven it, over time, that he's capable of making decisions. He's capable of making plays for himself and others. And then defensively, that's really what stands out for me about him, is he can really guard.
Right. Let me ask you this, because this is something that's come up a lot. How in this new age of college basketball, and I'm not a big fan of this, and I'm gonna always say that I'm not a big fan of this, but it's a lot of teams are really high volume 3-point shooting teams. Notre Dame is a high 3-point shooting team. Louisville is a high volume 3-point shooting team. But sometimes you see teams that shoot a lot of threes, but they're not making a lot of threes. And I don't want us to fall into that category, because sometimes we have. But how many threes should we be shooting throughout the course of the game if we know that 3-point shooting is not necessarily our specialty? What do you think of that?
Well, it depends on who's shooting the ball. I'm letting JJ, I'm letting Chopper, I'm letting Kyle Cuff, and then obviously Chris Bell, when he's in the game, I'm letting him shoot. If you know what, if you're JJ, you want to be able to keep the defense honest, right? You saw what happened against Louisville. They just put bodies in front of them, and then after a while, it was no lanes for them, no angles, anything like that. So you got to be able to hit jump shots to keep the defense honest and spread the floor and create angles on the drives. But honestly, 15 to 20 a game. Okay. They were 8 for 24. This last game. And you said Notre Dame, a high volume team, they were only 5 for 14.
But they usually shoot better than that. Notre Dame usually shoots a lot better than that, right?
And not only do they shoot a lot better, but they shoot way more. They're usually getting in the 20 to 25 range, and they only shot 14. That goes credit Syracuse defensively for locking in late first half and in that whole second half, just really locating shooters and pushing them off the free throw line. I thought they did a better job of really pushing up and making Notre Dame start their offense further away from the rim. But you don't want to be like this, where you're shooting a ton and then you're not getting anything to the rim, because you want to continue to put the pressure on the defense. For me, as a team, I always like to start off trying to attack, getting to the basket, like setting the tone, like trying to punch somebody in the face, like we're going right at you. I think when you feel that contact, whether it's off the drive or getting it into your big and just letting the body a few times, you're setting the tone for the physicality of the game. Then once you do that, the defense shrinks in a little bit. Now once they shrink in, now you're getting driving kicks. Now you're getting, pass, into an open shot. So start off attacking. And I think that's, what we excel at more so than shooting the ball is getting to the rim and attacking. But once you do that, now you have to have your shooters ready to shoot the ball. And JJ, he's not a great three-point shooter, but he's capable. And I think for him, you just have to be able to be aggressive to even open that up. And then guys like Elijah Moore, Kyle Cuff, they'll have opportunities just from being aggressive to the rim, right? And then having that defense loosen up a little bit. But Elijah Moore, shoot the ball, man. Like, there's a couple times where you're hesitant, a couple times where JJ was hesitant. You have to be able to shoot the ball just to keep the defense honest, right? Make or miss, you have to be a threat on the floor. And I talked about that during the broadcast. If you're going to be out there on the floor, don't just be running up and down getting your cardio in. Like, be a threat. Like, if you get the ball past you and it's an open shot, shoot the ball. If he's running at you on a scramble, pump fake, and get into the paint and try to make a play. But don't just be running up and down. Like, you have to be out there being a threat. If not, now you're playing 4-on-5, 3-on-5. You might as well not even be out there. So when you're out on the floor, you have to be a threat.
But you can be a threat in other ways besides just three-point shooting. You could be, if you're open and the shots just aren't falling, and if you see me watching the game sometimes, and teams are just shooting over and over, three-point shooters, jacking them up and missing. It's different if you're making them, then you can't really say nothing. But if you're missing them, I'm like, okay, one dribble pull up, pump fake, give me two dribbles. You know what I'm saying? Get a little closer. There's other things that you can do if the three-point shot is not falling. I just don't want, we're not in that kind of category, but I don't want us to get, too involved with just trying to force something that isn't necessarily happening, and that's the three-point shot. I understand completely that you have to keep them honest. You have to be able to, spread the floor and everything like that. Sometimes the shot's just not falling, though. You know what I mean? I would love to see us fast break more. The way that you say, the way we fast breaking, getting the ball, throwing it down the court. And even if the one time it didn't work, you know what I mean? He fumbled the ball, whatever happened. I just like that action. You get it and go. You know what I mean? And you try to throw it down, get some fast break dunks, get the crowd involved. The dome is, rocking, all that different stuff. That's wonderful basketball to me. Now, maybe, again, we're just showing our age, and that's not the way that basketball is played anymore. You know what I mean? But what you saying far as starting off the game, driving, getting some dunks, aggressive, all that stuff, punching them in the mouth in the beginning. That's how I think basketball should be played. 100% I agree with you on that. You know what I mean? But if you're just going to I just don't want us to fall too far into just relying too much on three-point shooting if that's not our strength.
Yeah, and it's not. They're one of the worst three-point shooting teams percentage-wise in the ACC, right? So it's not one of our strengths. My thing is, if you're missing it, all right, yeah, you want to try to attempt 1-2 dribble, but if you're wide open, and even if you miss 2 or 3 in a row, I'm shooting the ball. If Chopper Moore, if I miss 2 or 3 shots, but that fourth one coming to me and I'm wide open, I'm not hesitant. I'm shooting the ball. That's what you are. You're a shooter. So if you are a shooter and you're capable of knocking it down, I don't care if you miss 5 in a row. If you're wide open, a lot of times you're gonna not be hesitant on that shot and then get into a tougher shot, but just because you didn't take that open one. So when you're not. Even if you're not making them, if you're wide open, you have to be able to shoot the ball, because now the defense, now they're adjusting and they're not even closing out. Now you're taking away a lot of opportunities, not only for yourself, but, just for the defense. So, but no, yeah, to your point about transition, that's in the second half, that's the reason why the energy came from the crowd. They started to saw some deflections and some turnovers and be able to get in play fast. And historically, that's how Syracuse is. They're a transition team. I don't want to have to play in half court every single time. That's hard against a set defense to play every single time. That's why you see the percentages of the way they are, because most of this year they've had to play against a set defense in half court. I couldn't tell you the last time besides this game where they got opportunities to get out and transition and get easy opportunity, even if it's like a semi-transition, to where there's 1 or 2 guys that are lagging back on the opposition, where you could get a wide open 3. Those are the best times besides offensive rebounds to get 3-point shots, to when those shooters are running ahead and you're getting to the 3-point. Chris Bell, if you're listening, sprint the floor, dude. wing to wing, corner to corner. That's how you're going to get open opportunities. The defense is not going to every single time. It's going to be one time where they're lagging behind. So you can get Eddie Lampkin, rim run every single time. You're going to get an easy bucket just by running the floor hard. And I think Syracuse did a good job of that in the second half, and it was all started by their defense. But we got to take another break real quick. We'll be right back. Finish talking about the win versus Notre Dame over the weekend.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, I think I missed a break too.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Okay, and then come back. You want to take callers, E?
Well, 42, that's a quick one. So when we come back here, that's going to be a quick segment then.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if we're going to do that, you might as well just start letting callers know that they can call in, I guess, because that's a quick one. We ain't really going to get much in that little part. And then we could talk a little bit, but let them know y'all can call in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we can do. What do you want to hit real quick here? You want to finish talking about like Eddie and how he played, or you want to talk about Clemson?
Yeah, we can talk about Eddie. I don't know a lot about Clemson, to be honest with you. I haven't really watched them a lot this year. I know they're bigger. You know what I mean? I know they're athletic. I know they're stronger down low. You know, but we already said all that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we could just mention something at the end how it'll be tough going in on the road playing against them. They are good. They're good, man.
I want to hear coaches, fans kind of talk about what offense they would like to see, because we talked about it, and fans also a lot of times talk about the offense, that they don't like the offense, and I get it. And it's one of those things where, when things are going well, there's not as much complaining. I know that's what it is, but I would like to hear what they would like to see offensively. We already talked about the fast breaks. I 100% think that they should have more fast breaks. But what else? What would people like to see?
And honestly, Eve, for real, how much teams run offense for real? Like seriously, it's not. It's pick and roll. It's you might have the down screen, but it's decision making. Honestly, like even you don't really see a lot of sets. I mean, maybe out of timeouts or whatever it is, but. Or the first play of the game, you don't see a lot of. It's more like you need players who can make decisions and create.
Yeah,
like that's just the game.
Yeah, that's true.
No, Pat, what side? Pat, what games you watching, man? Where they're running a set every single time down the floor? I'm looking at the chat right now, E.
Oh, okay. What are you talking about? Okay.
You have sets, but they're not coming down running a set every single time. You're not. You can't do that. You can't do that. You have to be able to create off the transition and off just make a decision. The basketball is like read and react. If you have to run a set every single time, then it slows the game down and it makes it easier for the defense. Yeah, not the whole game, Pat. I get it. I didn't say you're not running the sets, but you are running sets, but it's situational, I get what you're saying, Pat.
ESPN 97.7 and 100.1. Watch live on QSportsTalk.com. This is the Etan and Devo Show. Here are former Syracuse standouts Etan Thomas and Eric Devendorf.
Welcome back, everybody. Quick break. We got one more quick break after this quick segment, and then we'll get into our callers. So if you have any comments, if you have any opinions, and if you think you know what offensive set Syracuse should be running, call in. We'd like to hear that. And I'm sure it'd be a lot of people who have a bunch of different opinions. But, I want to talk about Eddie Lampkin first. You know, a guy who's been catching some criticism, but he's averaging over his last 8 games, averaging almost 10-10 or 10-11. And then he's had 4 straight consecutive double-doubles. A guy when, things are going well, his energy is probably up a little bit. But he's always had pretty good energy. And you saw last Saturday against Notre Dame, passing the ball, offensive rebounds. He's not the most athletic guy. He probably can't, you put a broomstick right there, you're going to jump over that. That's about it. Right. But he's a guy that knows how to use his body well. He creates space just by using his body. And then, his effort's always there. And he brought great energy to the Dome. And you could feel the Dome crowd really feed off that. Just talk about his play, these last 7-8 games. And then against Notre Dame this past Saturday.
I mean, he's been a double-double machine. You know what I mean? I understand, criticism, especially when you lose. But he's been working hard in there, and people have to understand that his back was hurt for a lot of the season. He was playing through it. And of course, people don't understand what it is to play through an injury, and he's not going to always complain about it and say, yeah, I'm sore. But you could tell by he was moving that he wasn't, regular, that he was in pain. But he's pushing through it. And the thing about it is, when you play with that level of energy, with that level of enthusiasm, it's infectious. And I love seeing the crowd get into the game. I hate when I'm looking at the game and the whole Dome seems just dead. You know what I mean? Like, we got so many people in there and it's just like everybody half asleep. But I understand it if we're when we started off the game down 11, I was like, uh-oh, it's not going to go well, but then things started changing. Yeah. And it was looking bad for a minute, right? But those things that get the crowd into it, his energy, his enthusiasm, even if he gets a tech, like he got a tech against, Boston College? I don't care if he got a tech. I thought that was a whack tech anyway. Yeah. I don't think he should have got that tech anyway. You know what I mean? I thought it was just fine. You want him to show emotion. You want him to be, mean and nasty in there and, snarling and growling after he does. That's what you want. That's what he brings to the table. So he needs to just continue being himself. That's obviously who he is. Now you want to see the other guys kind of bring that same energy. We know Cuff brings that energy. You know what I mean? When they bring that same enthusiasm. And when the Dome is rocking, it's a difficult place to play in. Like, other players will tell you. Now when the Dome is all quiet and half asleep, then they're like, oh, this is just a whole lot of quiet people. You know what I mean? Like, everybody worried about them anymore. But when the Dome is rocking and everybody's enthusiastic, that's what makes the Dome special. So, yeah, I love the way Eddie plays. I love what he brings to the table.
And I want to shout out the Dome crowd, too, because I did the game with my guy, Doug Sherman. And I've done some games this year where, let's be honest, it was not looking good in there. They announced it, hey, 14,000. It was not 14,000 in there. Trust me. Let's be, and I get they gotta put the number a little bit higher, but I don't know what the total number was Saturday, but it was close. It had to be between 20 and 25, maybe 19, 20, 21, something like that. But it felt like a lot more, and they stayed throughout the whole game. The last game versus Louisville was 5 minutes, 6 minutes left. People started leaving. All right, and rightfully so. You're trying to get to your cars. It's cold. You want to beat the crowd out, get going a little bit early. But shout out to the Dome crowd for staying all the way through and talking about the energy that Eddie brought. He really fed off that crowd in the Dome. And who's the guy that besides Eddie, besides Kyle, that really needs to step up with that energy? For me, I think JJ needs to continue to keep getting outside of himself as far as like he's not a guy who's really vocal or who wants to, but you're the man. Like I think about guys like Grant Hill. I mean, you would know more than me. Grant Hill is a guy who's like, he's the man on his team, but he wasn't really a vocal guy, right? He was more of a, I guess they would say, a nicer guy, but he had that dog in him, though. Don't get it twisted. He had that dog in him. But I would just like to see JJ, even something as little as, get your guys together at the free throw line. Just huddle in when things are going bad, or you got 2-3 possessions where you're not scoring or you get some turn. Just bring those guys together and talk to them. We need a guy like that, a leader who could, bring that to the team.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot on JJ's shoulders. To be honest with you, JJ, you don't want to say that the team kind of goes as JJ goes, but that's kind of the situation that we're in. To be honest with you, I mean, Coach said it. If JJ's scoring 4 points or something like that or whatever is in Louisville, he's like, we're not going to win many games. And so sometimes JJ's going to have to even take maybe a bad shot or two because that's a shot that they need him to take. And that's a little bit of a difficult thing to really rationalize because he is the guy that needs to be able to shoot at a high volume, whatever kind of shot that it is. And so, of course, his strengths are driving, getting downhill, especially going from the top of the key. We know all of that. But sometimes he's going to have to shoot that. You know what I mean? Like if you miss the first three, he's in a different position. Like he has to be able to be aggressive. He cannot turn into being like, oh, this is not my night. Now let me just sit back. You're the guy. Every night has to be your night. You know what I mean? And that's a tough position to play. When you are the guy, that's the position that you're in.
1 for 7 against Louisville. So 7 shots. It means he stopped being aggressive. He took 20 shots against Notre Dame. So a big difference. He kept being aggressive, especially in that second half. We're going to take one more quick break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to take callers, see what offense these guys would run.
Hey, this is...
All right. Yeah, I want to hear. I'm interested. I'm interested in what because it's
yeah.
You have. I don't want to say limited options, but what do you do when JJ's not on? You know what I mean? Like what? And you can't go small like you did against Notre Dame, because I think that's a little bit of an anomaly. I don't think we're going to be able to do that a lot of times throughout the season. I could be wrong, but looking at other rosters, going that small for a long stretch, I think that's gonna, not be as positive as as we want it to be. So I'd be interested in seeing what we can do. Like how would you defend us if you were on the team? What would be your defense? How would you defend us if you were the opponent?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm making JJ go ahead and do everything the whole game. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead, let him go ahead, and because he's a guy who they need to score, right? He needs to score, obviously, but who else is going to step up? There's not really other guy on Syracuse that could create. And I think a lot of times the more that he has the ball in his hands, making decisions, right, the more turnovers that Syracuse is seeing, just because he's a guy that has to play off the ball. So, I mean, who's going to be another guy that could step up? I haven't really seen it as far as like creating on their own. They got to do it defensively. I mean, defensively, they have to be able to create turnovers and get out in transition rather than rely on another guy who could, do what JJ does, But, yeah, I mean, if it's just him and I'm playing it against Syracuse, like, go ahead, man. Like, you're going to have to score 30, and then you're going to have to make every single right decision. You're going to have to be able to make that drive and kick. I'm putting bodies right there, and then once I put bodies right there, then you're going to have to kick it to your teammates. Now your teammates going to have to beat us. So I'm not really like, if he has the ball in his hands, it's not like, oh, he can't, unless he gets in ISO situations where, all right, and then we send a double off the pick and roll, whatever it is. But I mean, he's not gonna beat you by himself, like you said, So it's like he could have the ball in his hands. You go ahead and beat us. Yeah. Somebody else is gonna have to step up and make shots.
I agree. I put our zone bus. Honestly, I'd pack it in, you know?
Yes. Yeah. Right. Because who's going to, who's shooting the ball for real?
Straight Syracuse zone. So, all right, dare them to shoot it. And they gotta prove to me. But I'm not going to just let Eddie Lampkin and, you know what I mean, Jair, or, you know, just go to work on me inside. No, I'm going to pack it in, you know,
Yeah.
with them. But
no, you're right, because they're shooting 25% from three.
yeah, no question. I mean,
but and it could be zone, yep, or I'm just playing like pack line, like Virginia, like boxes and elbows, man.
Yeah.
Like you gonna see me every time you turn the corner. You gonna see me, and then you got to kick, and then you got to make jump shots.
Yep.
But
agreed.
But I'm not scared. Like if as a team, like if JJ has the ball in his hands, all right, well you're going to have to score every single time then.
Right.
You know. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, no. Oh, okay. We gotta get the timing.
Sports talk shows on QSportsTalk.com. This is the Etan and Devo Show. Here are former Syracuse standouts Etan Thomas and Eric Devendorf.
Hey, welcome back, everyone. So we got about 5 minutes left. We were going to take callers, but I guess nobody wants to call in and explain their offensive philosophy to us, and I guess you guys didn't have one. Huh? Pat, I thought you were going to call in and try to break down your offensive sets for us. We'd like to hear that.
Yeah, I think sometimes it's a little bit, you know, when, like I said, when we win, the criticism is going to be a little bit quieter. You know, when we lose, everybody has of what should happen. And I think that's what happens a lot of times with Coach Red. And just not just Coach Red, just all coaches. You know, I honestly think, and I will always say this, I think that sometimes coaches get a little bit too much credit when teams do well. And I think they get a little bit too much criticism when things don't do well. And sometimes the strategy is there, it just didn't work. You know, so say this the new strategy that Coach Red did in the second half. So say going small, you know, putting Carlos at the point, you know, moving JJ off the ball. Say it didn't work, right? It didn't. Say it was a complete disaster. And then it's like, oh, well, why would he do that? Like, what was he thinking of? You know, I'm looking at the Ravens game. Okay, the end. You know, you're trying to get the 2-point conversion. You know, and he tried to do the short pass. Short pass didn't work. Oh, why would he call that play? Now, if it would have worked, then everything would have been great. You know what I mean? Oh, great strategy. The whole defense thought one thing, and then you faked them out. They did something else, and it been nothing but praise. But since he dropped the ball, then, okay, well, he should have ran the ball. That was terrible by the coach. You know, and I think sometimes, you know, winning cures a lot. And I think that a lot of the criticism that Red has received, and I'm not saying there's not room for criticism. I'm not saying that at all. But when you lose, sometimes those things become exemplified. And there's a lot of people that are kind of, you know, the Monday morning quarterbacks, the armchair that can say, oh, well, we should have done this, this, and this. And it's easier to say that, you know, from your living room, you know, after something doesn't work.
And I think a lot of times too, you know, what Red drew up in the huddle didn't necessarily translate to on the court, right? Like for the players got to execute, the players got to run the plays. Defensively, they got to know the rotation. So, and my thing with this team, it's been defense the whole year. Like they've shown they're capable of scoring the ball. Yes, they've had games where they've struggled shooting the ball, struggled moving the ball. Offense is more about like ball movement and body movement, right? And then you're reading and reacting. Like once you get the defense moving from side to side, and then you're attacking those gaps, right? You're getting into those gaps. The defense is collapsing, and then you're either making the kick out, or if the big guy comes up, you're dropping it, lobbing it, whatever it is. Yes, you're going to run sets, but it's more situational. right? And especially at high level college basketball. And Pat, you had a good point. If your talent is more marginal, then yeah, you're probably going to run more sets because guys can't create on their own. But at this level in college basketball, where you got guys who you would think be able to create on their own, we talk about Syracuse and Dukes and Kentucky, you could give the ball to guys and tell them to go ahead. Right? It's more about read and react. But I think defensively is more so like getting these guys to lock in, communicate, know the rotations, like playing with effort and energy. And that's what, changed the game for Syracuse. If they could really lock in on the defensive side of the ball, I think, and I said it during the broadcast, I think it gives these guys more confidence offensively to go ahead and make mistakes. They're not playing as tight. When defensively, when you're able to get deflections, when you're, you're keeping guys in front, when you're getting out in transition, you're getting easy buckets. If I could get a layup or a wide open three, now eventually when I do get in half court and I have to play, a little bit more confident. I'm moving a little bit quicker. I'm cutting through. I'm not playing stagnant. Because every single possession down, I've been playing in half court rather than enjoying the game and trying to have a little fun with it, right? Getting up and down and playing in transition. So I just think for this Syracuse team, it starts on the defensive side of the ball. And like you said, players play, right? Coaches put players, where they can be in position to succeed and execute and have better opportunities. But let's be honest, fans don't really know what's being drawn up in the huddle. And then if the players go out and don't execute, then a lot of times what was drawn up, it makes coach look bad, right? If the players aren't going out and doing what they're supposed to do. So players play, man. They have to go out and execute, what the coaches want them to do. And that starts, a week prior to the game.
Yeah. But I do think it's interesting that, depending on if you win or lose, is kind of the critique is different on how the head coach is doing. I do think that's pretty interesting. It could be the same game plan. Yeah. Maybe the other team just scored more points than us. I think there are ways that you played well. You just didn't win the game. You know what I mean? But you actually played well. But we'll see. We'll see as we keep going.
Yeah, Red did a great job of second half adjustments on the pick and roll, and I thought defensively is much more effort. We got about 20 seconds. Just give me your take on what they have to do against Clemson going on the road. Clemson, obviously a top 4 team in the ACC, so it's going to be a big test for Syracuse.
Well, a lot of it is going to be how JJ, they get him going. So, like I said, I don't think they're going to be able to go small again, but I think that's going to be a big key. And then, of course, how our bigs really, step up and can continue to play well of that next scoring option right after JJ.
Well, it'll be a big test tomorrow night at Clemson on the road. Hopefully, Syracuse brings it on both ends, defensively and offensively. But tune in. Next Monday, we'll be back. Me and Etan, 11 to 12. Make sure you guys tapping in. We appreciate you for joining us. Have a good rest of your day.
Impressive.